Hey guys, hey, this is Anne Marie, Bold Girl Will Travel. I'm on a mission to make solo travel accessible and fun for everyone, especially us Black women over 40. And I want to dispel the myth that women over 50 can't be fashionable, comfortable, and stylish. On my channel, we talk about travel, fashion, style in that order. And so, welcome to my live. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know when another video from me drops and when I'm going live. I haven't been live in a while. This is the first time I think I've been live in 2024, so welcome. I had a little technical difficulty with getting started today. I realized that I'd set my live up for my mobile phone, and I don't like to go live on my mobile phone. I like to go live over my desktop because it's hard sometimes for me to see the chats and all those things when I'm on my phone. So I don't like to go live. So I had to fix that before I came on here. But hi, everyone. I don't know who's on with me, but I'm just going to talk a little bit to you guys while everyone is joining. But on this live today, I am going to talk to you guys about my recent trip to Turkey. And I just got back from Turkey, I guess today's Thursday, I guess a week ago. And hi there, Gwen. Nice to see you guys. I just got back from Turkey, and it wasn't all of Turkey. Turkey's a big country. I just got back from Istanbul and Cappadocia last week, a week ago. And I'm getting ready to head out on another trip soon. And I wanted to make sure, lighting looks weird. I wanted to make sure, adjusting my lighting a little bit because I think it's too bright or the light's too harsh. I think that's a little bit better. Turn it down a little bit. I wanted to talk to you guys about this trip before I went on my next trip because I have another trip coming up soon. I have my fourth meetup of 2024. I've been going hard with the travel this year, y'all. I'm going to be honest and transparent. I'm a little tired. I love traveling, but I'm a little tired. So it's going to be nice to take a little break over the summer from traveling. I'm not going to be traveling at all this summer if I have my way. I'm going to be home in Mexico and I'm going to give myself some downtime to work on some other things. But I will be in Mexico. If I go anywhere, I'll probably be inside of Mexico, but not outside anywhere, flying off anywhere. But a week ago, I got back from a mini meetup in Istanbul and Cappadocia. And I call it a mini meetup because originally this trip was supposed to be, I believe I had 7 people book the trip. So it was going to be 8 of us on this trip. And it was a great, really great package that I had put together. I was very excited about it. We're going to be doing Istanbul, which is a city I have been to before, and Cappadocia, which is another place I've been to before. But when I went the first time, I was working in international development. And so I had to make a choice between staying in Istanbul and seeing, some of the historical places, or going to Cappadocia for that weekend when I didn't have to work. And I decided to go to Cappadocia. So when I got back from Cappadocia after a weekend, I didn't have any time to really see anything in Istanbul. So while I went to Istanbul, I didn't feel like I really went to Istanbul. So I knew I always wanted to go back. The little bit that I saw, I knew I wanted to go back. So I put this trip together so that I could go back and also take some people with me. And we had 7 people booked. And then the chaos in Israel broke out. And everyone but the first person who booked the trip dropped out of the trip. And I completely respect people's decisions about travel. Everyone has to do what works best for them. But I knew that I was going on this trip, even if I had to go by myself. And the way I had set the trip up was that I could go by myself, even if no one else went. So I wasn't going to have to cancel the whole thing because I didn't have a minimum number of travelers required. And sometimes when you're putting trips together as a travel advisor, a lot of times, there's a minimum number of travelers. And if you don't have a minimum number of travelers, there can be penalties and can make it expensive to do the trip. That was not the case with this one. So I knew I was going to be doing it regardless. And I'm super happy. The first person who booked was a young lady who goes by at Peace Rain on Instagram. And I will drop her handle in the description of this video because I think it would be great for you guys to follow her on Instagram. She's amazing. she and I had followed each other on social media, I think, and she is in my Facebook group for Black women over 40 who love or aspire to solo travel. If that's you, you should join my group, and there'll be a link to my group in the description. So she'd been in my group, and so she knew about it when I announced the trip. She was the first person who booked the trip. And I remember early on, she asked me, she sent me a message. I don't think she'll mind me saying this. And she said, "Hey, um, are there going to be any issues in terms of, are you going to cancel this trip if you don't have a certain number of people?" That's what she'd asked me, basically. And I told her then, "No, I am not. Even I have to go by myself. I'm going on this trip. This is a trip I've been wanting to on for a long time, and I set it up in a way that I can go alone if I have to." And she was like, "Bet." Fast forward like 6, 7 months later, it turns out that I was going to be going on this trip, and it was just going to be me and her going on this trip because of the unrest in the Middle East. Quiet as it's kept, just a side note, Turkey is not in the Middle East. It is a predominantly Muslim country, but it is not in the Middle East. It's actually considered Eurasia. It literally sits right between Europe and Asia, which was one of the interesting things I learned about when I was there, that you can literally, one side of Istanbul is sitting in Europe, and then you can go across the river and you're on the Asian side of the city. It's a fascinating place. So while in a lot of people's minds, Turkey is the Middle East, it's not in terms of where it's actually situated. But a lot of people, were afraid because, I guess, because it's a Muslim country, they didn't want to go there while Israel was wreaking havoc across the lands. And that's just my personal political position. At this point, this is no longer about anybody being attacked in October. In my opinion, this is about something else now. But anyway, people dropped out of the trip because they were afraid to go to the country because of the unrest in Israel. And so it turned out that it was just going to be the two of us traveling together to Turkey in April. And it all turned out to be just fine. I will preface that by saying it all turned out really great. Would I have loved to have more people on this trip? Yes. But did it turn out to be great with just the two of us? Absolutely. We had an absolute ball together. It turned out that we both lived in the same neighborhood, in the same city. And that our houses were, where I used to live in the United States, and that our houses were not that far apart. I think she moved there after I left, but it was really funny that we both lived, I used to live in the same city as her. We knew a lot of the same restaurants, places, shopping, everything. We just really hit it off and had a great time. And she made it really easy. She's delightful. We just had a really good time. So that was, so that's why I call it a mini meetup, because it turned into just being a meetup of me and one other person. And it turned out great. So the way that the trip was structured was the first part of the trip, it was only 5 days. It was April 20th to April 25th. And the first 3 days of the trip were going to be spent in Istanbul. And then the last 2 days would be in Cappadocia. And I arrived in Istanbul about 3 days prior to the start of the trip. So I had 8 days there. And I will say that traveling was a lot this time. I don't know why it felt so long, because I've traveled to Australia and other places were farther away than Turkey, but it felt longer than it was, probably because my first part of my trip, my layover, was kind of long. So I live in Mexico. I flew from Mexico. Well, I actually didn't fly. This is an interesting part of this trip, and I'm actually going to do a little video about this. So for the first time since I've lived in Mexico, I crossed the border back to the United States to fly out of the United States by crossing by land. And I'd never done that before, but I found a really good fare out of San Diego Airport in California. And so I decided to fly from where I lived to Tijuana, and then just cross the border in Tijuana, and then transport myself by Uber to the San Diego airport. And I'd never done this before, and I had heard that it was super easy, but I had never done it before. So, when you've never done something before, you always kind of feel kind of nervous about it. But so I spent, I'm an attorney by training, so research is my thing. If I don't know how to do something, I figure out how to do it. So I spent a lot of time reading, a bunch of stuff about how to cross the border to Tijuana. And there is something called the CBX Express, where it is a walkway that you can cross from Tijuana into, from basically you walk from Mexico right into the United States, an underground walkway. And I don't know why, I just felt like it was going to be so difficult. And I was like, asking questions in Facebook and like book groups and reading up about it in Facebook groups to make sure that I understood what to do when I got there. Now, you do have to buy a ticket. And when I booked my flight from the airport that I use from where I live in Mexico and traveled to Tijuana, you could buy a ticket to cross the border with your ticket. So that is what I did for my return flight. For my departure flight to my arrival in San Diego, I went to the website and bought a ticket. And you can either buy a day of ticket or you can buy an open ticket that you can use whatever day you want within a certain time period. So I bought a ticket, saved it onto my phone, spent a lot of time doing research so I knew what to do. And the only flight that I could find that worked for me was a flight that left at 1 in the morning and arrived in Tijuana at 4, I think it was 4 a.m. And then my flight to San Diego was not actually leaving until 5:30 p.m. in the evening. So then I had to figure out, one, how am I going to get from San Diego to the airport once I get across the border? First crossing the border, then all of that. And then what am I going to do between 4 in the morning and 5:30 p.m. because I got all this time. So another thing that I use, I'm sharing a lot of little travel things that I do in this segment here, is I have an app called Day Use. And what Day Use does is it connects you to hotels that will allow you to purchase a room for between 4 to 8 hours, right? And you can pick hotels that participate in the program that are in the area that you're going to, and you can book time to use it. I've used Day Use a handful of times. Usually I have used it. The last time I used it, I was in California, I believe, and I was traveling to Australia. So it's been a while. And again, I needed just a couple of hours at a hotel and I had a long layover. So I ended up getting a hotel room to rest, honestly, before I went on the plane, because it was a very long flight from Los Angeles to Sydney. So what I ended up doing here is I ended up doing the same thing. I'm trying to see who else is on here because I see Gwen, but I don't see anybody else's name, but I'm seeing other people are on here. So I don't know who else is here, but hi, Gwen. If you're here, say hello, because I can't see who's here, but I see that people are on here. So hi there. Thanks for joining. So I went on Day Use and I found that there was a hotel that was not that far from San Diego Airport that I would let me check in at 7 a.m. and I could stay until I think it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which was perfect because I would need to be at the airport. I was trying to be at the airport for international flights at least 3 hours ahead. So I figured I would need to get to the airport for 2 p.m. So I would check out about 1 something. That would give me time, go to the hotel, get into the room, go to sleep, get some good rest in a bed before I was going to have to be on a flight for 11 hours, because flying from the West Coast to London, because I was flying San Diego to London, then London to Istanbul, takes longer when you're flying from the West Coast. When you're flying from the East Coast, it takes 7, 8 hours, actually. You're just flying across the Atlantic, especially when you're going to London, it doesn't take that long. Well, to me, 7 to 8 hour flight is nothing at this point. But from Los Angeles, it's 10 to 11 hours, depending on which direction you're going in. So it was a 10-hour flight, I think, going, and 11-hour flight coming back. So I wanted to get some good sleep because I never sleep really good on airplanes. I always try to get a window seat or try to get a decent position. If I can get in an exit row, I do. Try to position myself to be able to sleep, but I never get like good deep sleep on an airplane. So I wanted to get some good sleep before I got on this flight. So I use day use, and you can find them at dayuse.com. And then they have an app, and I use the app. I found a hotel not far from the airport. I got a room from 7 to 3. So what that means is once I arrived in Tijuana, I was going to need to figure out what I was going to do with myself between 4:30 ish when I was going to arrive, and about 7. So I fly to Tijuana. I'm going to do a little video about using the CBX Express. It was very fascinating to me. I'm glad I did it. It was really easy. And I don't know why I thought it was going to be some complicated thing, but it wasn't. It was like literally you got out of the airport, you walked out of Tijuana Airport, and you went through this walkway, and they had lots of signage. You scanned your ticket. When you were coming through, when I scanned it is when, if you were Mexican, you had to show the officials your passport, your Mexican passport. If you're American, you had to show your American passport. I remember asking them if they wanted to see my residency card, and they said no, they just want to see my passport and my ticket. So then you scan it, you walk out, you walk across the, hi there, Marcia. Good to see you. You walk across the walkway, and it's like a long hallway. I think they said it's about a 10 to 15-minute walk. It felt more like 10 minutes to me. Um, and I just had a carry-on suitcase and, my usual stuff, a backpack, a carry-on suitcase, and my little pillow. Um, and since I had bought my ticket, I just scanned my ticket, showed my passport, and I went through. And then on the other side, it says, "Welcome to the United States." You go up an escalator. I didn't videotape all of it because you're not allowed to use cameras and stuff in certain places, but I videotaped where I was allowed, just give people a certain idea. So I'll probably put that video up next week. But I thought it was really great and a really easy way and to get from, the United States, from Mexico to the United States and back, and very uncomplicated. So I walked down the hallway, went up the escalator, you come down, there's customs, immigration agents there, just like you would see in the airport. The only difference was he asked, I have global entry. So the gentleman asked to see my global entry card. I pull it out, I give it to him. I could barely get it out the thing because I never use the card, because I usually just put my number on my reservation, and then I get the pre-check thing on my ticket. And what I love about global entry, of course, is that when I return to the United States, it's very, very hassle-free. Hi there. LA, is that? I can't see. You guys, I'm blind as a bat. It's terrible. I used to have perfect vision. LA Teacher One. Marcia, hi there, from Southern California. I thought it said LA, but I wanted to make sure. So I come down. He asked to see my card. I'm pulling my card out. Can't barely get it out the thing because I never really use it. It's the first time I've actually presented. And then he says to me, "Did you what did he ask me? Did you activate your card?" And I was like, this is the first time I've ever even touched this card since I've gotten it. And so he scans the back of it, and then he says, "Yeah, your card isn't activated." He was really nice. He was like, as soon as you get a chance, go ahead and activate your card online. He said, because this is actually not like an airport crossing. This is considered a land border crossing. So you actually need to have your hard card, global entry card, and it needs to be activated. So, and then he gave me my card back, said, "Welcome to America, welcome back home." He was very, very nice. And then I walked on out, and then you go into like this, like a lobby area, I think. And there's a Starbucks there, and there were benches there. So what I ended up doing, and I think it was by then, it was like 5 in the morning by the time I got off the plane and got through there. And there was a Starbucks there. And I ended up just going to get me some breakfast at Starbucks, getting my laptop out, getting some work done, and then waiting for 7 a.m. I waited until about, which in hindsight, I wish I hadn't done. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. But I waited until 7 a.m. and then I called an Uber. And then an Uber came and picked me up. But guess what that meant? I ran into San Diego morning rush hour traffic. It took an hour and some change. It should be like a 20-minute drive from the CBX Express to the San Diego airport area. it took an hour and some change to get from there to San Diego airport area because of how bad the traffic was. So the more, I probably couldn't have done anywhere else because there was nowhere else for me to go. I mean, I could have went to the airport and hung out there, and then just took a taxi from the airport or Uber from the airport, which in hindsight, that's probably would have been a better thing to do, because the traffic was horrific. I forgot how bad morning rush hour traffic can be because I haven't been in it for almost 3 years, and I don't miss that at all. It was pretty bad. So I was in traffic for an hour and some change. I never go to sleep in Ubers. So I was wide awake, even though I was really tired. So when I finally got to the hotel that I booked, and I can't remember which hotel it is, I can look on my phone and tell you guys. I feel like it wasn't a Holiday Inn. It was a day use. I'll tell you guys which one I used. But it's really a handy, I might have deleted the app off my phone. I don't keep things on my phone all the time because they take up space. I might have taken it off. Yeah, I did. I deactivated the app on my phone. But it was like a Holiday Inn it was like a small hotel chain. But the room was really big and it was clean, which is the most important thing for me. And the bed was nice and fluffy. And I got me some good sleep. I can't tell you nothing else about that hotel because I didn't use none of there, nothing. I just changed my clothes, put on a t-shirt, got in the bed, and slept for, I want to say I slept from about the time I got there, which was like 8 a.m. and some change, until noon. I think I slept until noon. So what's that? 4 hours. I think I slept for like 4 hours straight. Then I had an alarm wake me up, got up, got myself freshened up, cleaned up, and checked out of the hotel a little bit after, close to 2 o'clock, because the airport was pretty close, but I still wanted to get there by 2. And then when I experienced their rush hour traffic, I decided I should try to get out of there by 1:30, just in case there was traffic between the airport and the hotel, but there wasn't. So I got over to the airport, and then I just hung out in the lounge until it was time for me to go on over to Heathrow. Now, at Heathrow, I had a very long layover from Heathrow. I think it was like a 6-hour layover. Now, I hate and love Heathrow Airport at the same time. I have a love-hate relationship with Heathrow Airport, and I'm going to tell you why. Heathrow Airport and Air France are obsessed with liquids. They want to take all your liquids from you when you come through the airport. So when you arrive on a connection, you have to go through a security check. And at the security check, it seems that their primary objective is to try to confiscate people's moisturizer. I don't know what their obsession with that is. And I am not convinced that my safety in an airport is dependent on moisturizer being confiscated. But I hate the airport for that reason. But I love the airport because of all the places to shop. And you should, by now you guys know I like nice things, and I should not be turned loose in a duty-free airport for 6 hours. Okay? And I was. I actually have a relationship with a sales associate at the Gucci in Heathrow. So I had told her that I would be coming through the airport. When I met her, when did I meet her? A couple months ago, I was traveling from somewhere. I can't even remember. And I was looking for something in Gucci. They didn't have it. Excuse me. I ended up buying a baseball hat, I think. But she had told, she's very sweet. Her name is Megan. So if you are ever going through Heathrow Airport and you are into Gucci, go to Megan, say hi, tell her Anne-Marie sent you. She's lovely. Very, very helpful. So I went in there, said hi to her, and then asked her, I was looking for there's a particular purse I have. I have a luxury wish list. I haven't done a video about my 2024 wish list. You guys can tell me in the comments whether I should or not. I haven't gotten around to it. I've been thinking about it, but I haven't kind of done it. But I have a list of things that I would like to have. As you all know, I'm supposed to be on a shopping ban, and I'm saying supposed to because I'm going to get to that in a minute when we get to Turkey. But I have put myself, this is a self-imposed handbag ban that I put myself on, because on last year I went a little bit overboard with the purchases of handbags. I went above my allotted allocation last year. So I usually not don't buy more than one, new luxury handbag a year, and I bought several last year. So I kind of put myself on a self-imposed ban, was like, you're not allowed to have anything. But I did create a little wish list of things that I would like to get, and this handbag was at the top of that list. It is a red heart-shaped handbag by Gucci. Chanel has a version of it too. Everybody has a version of a heart-shaped bag, but I really like the one that Gucci had put out. And so I had it on my list. So when I was in there, I kind of asked her, do you have one? Can I just see what it looks like? Because I'd never seen it in person. I'd only seen it online. And she did have one, but she only had it in black. And I really very much wanted the red one, because I have two red bags. One is a Loewe red mini puzzle bag, and I love it, but it's small, so it's not a great everyday bag because it doesn't hold that much. And then I have my Gucci Soho disco bag that I bought, probably one of the first luxury bags I've ever bought in store. It's pretty old. I think I bought it back in 2015 or 2016, and the corners are kind of worn. So I wanted to get a bag to replace that one. And so the heart-shaped bag is the one I had on my list to eventually replace that one. But she didn't have a red one. She had a black one. So she pulled it out and showed it to me so I could touch it, see what it looked like. And then she tried to see if she could find one in London that she could get for me, so that if I was coming back through there on the way back, that she could get it for me, because she could get it for me at a lower price than in store. And it's duty free. She'd get it for me duty free. But she couldn't find any in London at all. But she said to me, according to my system, they have two of them in Istanbul. I said, you don't say, because I told her, I'm going to Turkey. And she checked and she said, they have two of them in Istanbul. So maybe, if you want it or you want to see it, go to the store in Istanbul and take a look at it. And then you can see it there. She said, sometimes it says they have it and they don't, but you'll have to go to the store to see. So I said, I'll make a mental note of that. And I told her, I'm really not supposed to be shopping right now, but I just wanted to see it. And there were some loafers, which I had done a community post about, these black and white Gucci loafers that are also on my wish list, that I wanted to see if she had them. But it turns out those shoes are discontinued. They're not even making them in that model anymore. But she had the current model, which I didn't love. I tried them on. They hurt my feet. I could tell that they would hurt if I had even trying to break them, and they would hurt. But it was good to see them and, try them on. And so I told her, I will, make a mental note to check it out in Istanbul. Then I went across to Louis Vuitton, and to make a long story short, I did not leave the store empty-handed. And I will be doing a video about what I purchased while I was traveling on this trip. That'll be a separate video. But I did not leave on empty-handed. The store, the SA in there was lovely, really nice guy, really sweet. And he showed me something I had never seen before that I really fell in love with on the spot, and was like, how much is it? He told me it was way more expensive if I tried to get in the United States. So I went ahead and got it in Heathrow Airport. Which is why I say you should not turn me loose for 6 hours in an airport with duty-free shopping. It would have been even worse had I been in the de Gaulle Airport, which to me is my favorite place to shop duty-free in terms of airports, is the de Gaulle Airport in Paris. But I had a lovely layover time in Heathrow. And since I didn't have a long layover, the whole plastic bag liquids issue when I arrived in the country was not as stressful as it sometimes can be. But that would not be the same when I was coming back. And I'll tell you guys about that later. But anyway, I had a 6-hour layover. I made an acquisition. I made a couple acquisitions. I'll share them in a separate video. And then we got to Istanbul. I got to Istanbul, I think it was like really late. And as always with British Airways, they never leave on time. British Airways, their staff is very nice, but their ability to leave on time is very low. So, and I'm not saying hours of delays, but it's always a 20-minute delay, a 30-minute delay, and sometimes more than that delay. But they almost never leave on time when I fly with them. So, of course, they didn't leave on time. They think there was like 20 minutes on this particular flight. So I got in very late. I got into Istanbul like after midnight. I had already contacted the hotel. I told them that I was going to be getting in late. So they told me not to worry about it. I was staying at the Hilton Bosphorus hotel for the first 3 days. And then I was switching to another hotel to meet up with my with Raina for the group for a little mini trip. So my first 3 nights I was at the Hilton Bosphorus. It's a lovely hotel. It's in a very nice area in Istanbul. It is probably, I think it's like one of the biggest Hiltons they have in that neighborhood. And they have, they have a whole thing about the history of the hotel in the lobby and all the celebrities that have stayed there. Their service is top tier at that hotel. And so I got there late. Someone met me when I got there, grabbed my bags and everything. I had a driver meet me at the airport, so that wasn't a big issue. I always have a driver meet me at the airport. And if you're traveling solo, ladies, these things are very important. Like, make sure you have transportation set up to meet you at the airport, so you don't have to be dealing with, shuttles, vans, and all these things. And a lot of them stop running after certain times. And so if you haven't thought about that, you can be stuck, and you don't want to deal with taxis, especially at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're going to try to gouge you. So it's always better to have that dealt with. And in most places, just as in Mexico, Uber is not allowed to come into the airport at Istanbul. So it's best for you to set up your arrangements. I think they can drop you to the airport, but I don't think they're allowed to pick you up from the airport. So you need to figure out transportation from the airport. And Uber does work actually, I'm incorrect about that. You can call it Uber, but it's a taxi. We're going to talk about Uber in a minute, because that's a whole different thing. But I made arrangements for a private car transfer, which I almost always do with airports, because I don't want to deal with taxis, because they always try to gouge you. I'm going to talk to you about the gouging ass taxi drivers in Turkey, in Istanbul, in a minute. And they're not any different than the ones in Cancun and the ones in Egypt and the ones anywhere else. So this is not me saying they're particularly worse. They're not. Or the ones in Athens, because Uber is also taxi drivers in Athens. So, but there's a distinction, and I'll explain it in a minute. So I had a private car transfer. They were there to meet me. They picked me up. They got me to the airport. The airport is about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic, from the hotel. And it depends. Istanbul is a very big city. I want to say that first of all. It's a big city. It's wide. So there are lots of hotels. So when you say you're staying at the Hilton, it could be any number of Hiltons. There's so many of them in the city. And there's like a hotel district that's about 40 minutes from the airport. And then there are other hotels that are inside of Istanbul proper that are like near the tourist district. And there are other hotels. I wasn't staying inside the tourist district, but I was staying adjacent to Taksim Square, which is a major square and shopping district and whatever. I was staying like maybe 15 to 20-minute drive or so from there. So I really liked the first hotel that I stayed in. I liked it better than the second one. The second one was nice, but I really liked the Hilton Bosphorus, so I recommend it if you're going to Istanbul, especially if you have like Hilton points. It's a great hotel. The service is top notch. They were doing renovations on the pool, but I wasn't going to use a pool anyway in 70-something degree weather. The weather in Istanbul was in the 60s and the 70s, and it's like spring weather. It rained for the entire first day and second day that I was there. So I was glad that I brought my umbrella. I had my rain slickers. I knew what the weather was going to be like in Istanbul, so I was prepared. I had clothing to layer because it was chilly, because the sun was not out at all. It was quite chilly, and I had baseball hat on every single day because I catch head colds very easily because I don't have any hair. So I was prepared for Istanbul, so that was good. I kind of rested the first day, which I tend to do. I had booked actually, that's not true. I had booked a hammam bath. if you go to Turkey, you must do the hammam, and you must do it as many times as possible, in my opinion. And what a hammam is a very specific type of bath. It's known in Turkey. Other places, they do it in Morocco and other places too. Basically, you go into a room. It's usually all marble and heated, and a person scrubs you from head to foot. Usually, you're not wearing very much. Um, Usually, like maybe wearing underwear, if that. And they scrub you from head to foot, and then it's like a total body exfoliation. It's just heavenly. And then you can get a massage. You can often get a massage as part of it, or you can get a massage. And all of the hotels and spas in Istanbul do them to varying degrees, right? And I had one for the first time in my life when I went to Turkey the first time. I remember telling my cousin that I was going, and she was like, "Oh, you must do the Turkish bath." She's like, "Make sure you do the Turkish bath. Get a hammam, do the Turkish bath." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." But she's like, "When you get to Turkey, when you go to the hotel, ask them if they do it." And the hotel that I was staying in had a spa, and I did it, and it was just outstanding. And so I was like, when I get to Turkey, I'm gonna go to hammam. I'm gonna have a Turkish bath. I'm gonna have a massage. Y'all, I was so tired. I got in there at I think I finally went to bed at 2. I couldn't get up. I had to cancel. I couldn't do it. Could not do it. I was tired. So I ended up staying in, getting some rest. And then I had a appointment at to go to the Basilica Cistern, which is a underground, the Romans occupied Turkey for many, many, many years, like in ancient times. And you can see the impact of the Romans on the architecture as well as the Ottomans. But you can see it on the architecture and also in underground. They're like there's an aqueduct that I saw. It was amazing because these places are old. I'm talking 15th century, 14th century, right? It's an underground system that the Romans built to move water, right? And it's amazing. I will put a video up about it probably next week. If you go to Istanbul, I highly recommend it. It's the first excursion I did, and it's completely underground. It's under the street. So you go in to the museum on one side and you come out on the other side of the street. It is located in the same district where the Blue Mosque, which is one of the biggest tourist attractions in Turkey, and the Hagia Sophia, which is another really beautiful mosque. There are lots of mosques in Istanbul, and I'll get to that in a second. It's in that same neighborhood, but it's underground. So I did my first excursion that I did, and I did it by myself, I did that. I was supposed to do the hammam thing first and then go to the cistern. I couldn't do the cistern, the hammam. I was tired, but I still went and did the cistern excursion, and I'm really glad I did it. I enjoyed it, and I went on a Friday, so it was not packed, right? And that's an important point because I ended up doing it again, and I'll tell you about the second time I did it. So I did that. I came out. Actually, I'm getting it reversed. So I didn't go do the hammam because I was tired. I did the next day. I did what did I have the next day? I'm gonna tell y'all because thank God for TripIt. I can go back and tell you exactly what I did. This is why I wanted to do this while it was still fresh in my memory because I don't remember things the way that I should. Okay. So I think what I did was, the first day I was supposed to do the first day I did the flying dress. That was Thursday. So I got there like early in the morning on Thursday. I slept. I was too tired to do the hammam thing. So I did my flying dress photo shoot. And I have shared some photos from that on my social media. It was great. I'm really glad that I did it for the first time in Istanbul. First of all, it was very affordable. I have something in my teeth. Terrible. Sorry, you guys. I hate when that happens. But I did it in Istanbul, and I'm glad I did. First of all, I was supposed to do it for the first time in Mykonos last September. But as you know, I fell and I sprained my ankle. So I never got to Mykonos. And it was going to cost me an arm and a leg in Mykonos. But I sucked it up. I talked to the Lord about it. and I was going to pay the money. And I think it was like 350 euros, somewhere between 300, 350 euros. That's like money, in my opinion, for something like this. But I was going to do it. But Jesus said no, and I sprained my ankle. I'm so glad that I did it for the first time in Istanbul. It was such a pleasant experience. I did it with this company called Istanbul Photographers. They're on Instagram, and I'll tag them in the description of this video. I paid under $200, and I can link to it through Viator. I booked it through Viator, and I found them on Instagram, booked it through Viator, and they have a whole studio that you go to and do the photo shoot. I'm going to do a separate video about it, but I'll tell you about the experience because it was wonderful. It was my first thing that I did. So I got up on Thursday, and that was what I did. That was the first thing I did. And I went to the, I had a 10 o'clock. I think I had a 10 o'clock, and I struggled. I struggled to get up, but I got up and I did it. That was my first day. I had the flying dress appointment. I was like, I'm going to go. I'm going to do this flying dress thing, and I'm coming back and going back to lay down because I was tired. But I got up and I went and I did it. I didn't have breakfast or anything. I literally just got up and went and did it because it was all I could do to get up and do it because I was so tired and the time change and jet lag and the whole thing. But I got up, took a shower, put my makeup on, put my my sweats on. What was I wearing? Did I have sweats on? No, I had jeans on. I had put my jeans on, got dressed, went and did that. I got a little lost. So this is my first interaction with the taxi. So let's talk about the taxi situation. So in Turkey, private drivers are not allowed to be Uber drivers. And one of my guides explained to me about it's kind of like how it is in Cancun, Mexico, where Uber is not allowed and where the taxi driver union was able to get the powers that be to not allow private people to be Uber drivers. So in Istanbul, your Uber driver is a taxi driver. And not only is he a taxi driver, he's a taxi driver on a meter. Do you see how this can be a problem? At least in Athens, your Uber driver is a taxi driver, but you get told what the fare is going to be up front. And while there are issues with that, because what I experienced in Athens was you got quoted a fare on Uber, and then the driver messages you trying to change the fare because they want you to pay more. Oh, traffic, and it's going to be this amount, and I would just cancel the ride because I'm like, the ride says this. I'm going to pay this. We're not negotiating a new fare when you arrive because you're trying to make more money. Well, it's even worse in Istanbul in that they're on a meter. So you don't have a quoted fare. You have a range that they quote to you between this amount and this amount, right? Then the driver arrives. He picks me up. He takes me, and of course, you're in Turkey. They speak a different language. He takes me to where I'm supposed to be going to get my flying dress situation done, my flying dress shoot done. And then he just stops and the door opens. And I'm like, oh, are we here? Like, where are we? And he drops and basically he points. And I get out of the taxi. And then I'm lost. And I'm on this thoroughfare. We're in the middle of this shopping area district. There's this big mosque on one side, really pretty. Turns out it was another historic mosque. There are lots of them all over the city. I'm lost. Luckily, I was able to message the guys, and the guy came out, found me, and walked me to the studio. And I wasn't far away, but even with the Google Maps, and the Google Maps kept telling me that I was right there. But I just did not see the sign. He sent me a picture of the building. I could not find it. So he came out and got me. And he was just lovely. He was really nice. So we went inside the building. You go upstairs, and there's a whole studio, like, it's beautiful. And they had a room full of dresses. The girl asked me, said hello. She asked me what color I wanted. She showed me like a whole book, and you get to pick what kind of dress you wanted. I knew I wanted a yellow dress. I had decided on yellow before I got there. It was either going to be yellow or orange because those colors I feel look good. You have to pick things that work with your skin tone. And us chocolate girls look great in jewel tones. So I knew I wanted either, yellow or orange or royal blue or red. Everybody tends to do red, I think, or blue. So I settled on yellow. So I get there, I pick out the dress. Someone brings it to me. I get dressed. A lady is waiting outside to help me with the dress. And she had to help me with pinning the front of the dress because the girls were popping out of the dress. Um, and then he tells me to follow him. Then they had a whole area with jewelry, that like costume jewelry, where you could pick jewelry to borrow for the shoot that you liked and put it on. And then they had tiaras, and they had every type of outfit under the sun. And then they had some of the other outfits that you could pay extra to use. But I knew I wanted the flying dress, so that was what we did. They had a whole room with the lanterns. It was a lovely setup. And then they had two guys who apparently their job was to fly the dress. And so it was kind of comical at one point. I'm looking back, I'm posing, the guy's telling me different poses to do for the pictures. He's clearly done this over and over. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's giving me directions. And I'm looking at the other guy, and he's flying the dress with one hand and checking his text messages with the other. And I thought it was the most amusing thing ever. Like, he does this all day. He just flies the dress, and the other guy is holding the other end, and they're flying the dress. So what I'm saying to you is, this whole flying dress is a whole thing that has to be coordinated well for you to get the pictures that you want. But these people had their stuff together. They knew what they were doing. And I got everything that I wanted. Then we went up to the rooftop, and there's a guy whose job it is apparently to throw the bread to the birds. They're not pigeons, praise the Lord. They're like seagulls, I think. They're a type of seagull. They're in the seagull family. And his job was simply to throw bread in the sky. That's why you always see those pictures from Turkey with the birds flying overhead. They're not just flying overhead. Someone is throwing bread in the background to get those birds. And they also Photoshop. But in my case, I didn't want any Photoshop. And I'm not crazy about birds flying over my head, because you know what birds do when they fly? They poop. Ask me how I know. So I did not really want a lot of stuff flying over my head. So I have minimal birds flying over my head in my pictures, because I didn't want a lot of birds flying over my head. But it was interesting because they had a whole setup, and then there were other people in different corners of the roof taking pictures, and they had a setup. So I really enjoyed it. It was fun and organized. I love the pictures. And he also shot video for me. And I think he gave me like 3 video reels that I could use in addition to the photos. And then right now I'm waiting for my edited photos. They gave me 10 edited photos, as well as like a bazillion pictures. And then I get to pick 10 for them to edit for me. So right now they're editing the photos. He said they would have them back by the end of the next week. But I got the videos on the spot, and I got access to the photos before I actually left Istanbul. So that was a really good experience. I highly recommend them. So if you are in Istanbul, I highly recommend doing your flying dress in Istanbul rather than Cappadocia. And I'm going to tell you, because you're going to pay way more in Cappadocia. Like Raina did hers in Cappadocia, and it's beautiful. But she paid way more, and she had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to meet those people at 5 to do her video. And I shared her video on my Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram, you can see her picture. It's beautiful. Raina is a beautiful woman. So it would be hard for her to not have a beautiful photo shoot. Let's just say that first of all. But the company that did it did a wonderful job, but she paid way more than I paid doing my photo shoot in Istanbul. And I like my pictures just as much as I like hers. So for me, if budget is an issue, and it's not for everyone, and y'all know me, I like to spend money, but I like to spend money on certain things, not on everything. So yes, I may have a $2,000 handbag over here, but I don't want to spend $300 on photographs. It doesn't need to make sense to you. It makes sense to me. Okay. So I don't want to spend that kind of money on photographs, because honestly, I was walking around with my tripod. The majority of the photos and videos that you are going to see from this trip, and there's so many, I have to sit and organize everything in order to start putting content together to share. And because I have another trip coming up, it's going to take longer for me to get it out. But I'm not paying that kind of money for something I could do myself. Let's just put it that way. Right. And so for me, I'm just not willing. I don't want to spend $300, $400, $500 for a photo shoot. I've never spent that kind of money on photo shoots. Any photo shoot you have ever seen me in, I spent under $200, sometimes under $100 for that. I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to do that because it's not that complicated. Yes, they're very talented people. This is not me knocking photographers and videographers, but at this day and age of good iPhones and good Sony vlogging cameras and such, I'm just not trying to spend $400, 400 euros 400 plus euros. I don't care how beautiful the pictures are going to be. I just can't in my mind. I can't make, I can't do it. So I loved my experience in Istanbul. I also loved that I did not pay 400 plus dollars to do it. I think they did a wonderful job. The guy was really great. The whole setup was really easy. And it was easy, and it was right in Istanbul. It was exactly what I had envisioned in my mind for what I wanted. Shout out to my girlfriend Deanna, who I believe is the person who told me about them. Deanna went to Turkey last year, and I think and Deanna is one of my good friends. She's a singer songwriter, cook, chef, all the things. And she's out of the West Coast. She lives in Vegas now. She's been in California for a long time. Deanna Bombchica, she got a gazillion followers on Instagram, but she's one of my besties and oldest friends. And she is a budget conscious person. So I knew when I saw her photo shoot, I knew that she had not spent a gazillion dollars on it, because she's just not going to do that. And it looked really great. So I was like, where did you do that? And she gave me the information, and they were wonderful. So I highly recommend them. If you go to Istanbul, which you should, and you want to do a flying dress video photo shoot, I recommend doing it in Istanbul instead of Cappadocia, if budget is a issue that you care about or is important to you. If you have your heart set on Cappadocia and the balloons and the horses and the whatever, then by all means, do it there, but understand that it's going to cost more money, probably twice what it cost me to do it in Istanbul. So that was Thursday. I did that. Then I came back to the hotel and I had dinner. There's a Chinese restaurant that was not in the hotel. Well, actually it was in the hotel, but on the other side of the hotel. Hotel is a really big complex. And I went there for dinner because I haven't had Chinese in a long time. I usually only get Chinese food in the United States because there's not good Chinese food. Well, that's not true. There's not good Chinese food in the town where I live. I've actually recently found a Chinese restaurant about 45 minutes away from here in the next closest major city. And it was very, very good. But since I can't drive go to 45 minutes to an hour every time I want Chinese food, and they don't deliver to my town, I don't get Chinese food very much. So I was very excited when I saw that there was a Chinese restaurant. It was okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. I actually realized the reason I didn't think it was great is they didn't oversalt the food like they do in America. And when you have an American taste buds, you don't realize how used you are to so much salt in your food, especially Chinese food. And I do find in Mexico, where the place I go for Chinese, it's really good, but they don't put as much salt in their food. You can actually taste the food. And I had like a eggplant stir fry, and it was so much better even the next day when I ate the rest of it. It was so good. But I think the reason when I first started eating it, I was like, what's wrong with this? It doesn't taste, and then I realized it's because they don't have a gazillion pounds of salt in the food. So it's actually a pretty good Chinese restaurant, but it wasn't going to be like the Chinese you get in the States where they put a gazillion loads of sodium on your plate. But the place was packed with Chinese people. So when I walked in, there were a lot of people, I guess, Chinese people visiting. There are a lot of Chinese tourists in Istanbul. It was interesting. But there are a lot of them there, and they were all in the restaurants. I figured, the food can't be bad if all of these people are here, and it was good. But it wasn't it wasn't super salty. So if you expect it to be loaded with salt, you probably wouldn't enjoy it. I had to adjust my taste buds a little bit, but it was good. So the next day, I think, was the day I was supposed to do the hammam. I think that was the next day, Friday, because I was there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I was supposed to do the hammam. I couldn't get up, y'all. I had a really hard time because I had some work stuff to do. I stayed up to do it. Then when I was getting ready to go to sleep, I could not sleep. I was like a zombie. I was laying in the bed for hours. I could not go to sleep. So by the time I was able to go to sleep, I could not get up to go to the hammam. So I canceled that and instead slept, and then I went to the cistern. And I absolutely love that place. I cannot emphasize how much, if you visit Istanbul, you should go to the Basilica Cistern. You have to see it to kind of understand. And I saw Instagram video about it, and I put it on my list immediately because I was like, I want to see this. But this place was built by the Romans, and it was built for them to store and move water through the city. And it's an amazing thing to see, to know that people built this so long ago, and it's still standing. And it's like pools of water, and they have like a system where they're moving it through the whole place, and it's all underground. It's really worth seeing. And as I said, I went that Friday, not Thursday, but Friday. It wasn't packed with people. So that was one of the really nice things about it for me, was that I could really see it, right? I could really see what I was looking at and appreciate what I was looking at when I went that Friday and visited and saw it. So I did that. Then I did some like walking around shopping kind of stuff. And then and it was raining. It was raining those 2 days. So I didn't want to be outside for too long because it was rainy and it was cold. And I catch head colds. Like I told you, I catch colds very easily. And especially I was layered well, so I didn't catch a cold. But I didn't want to be outside too long because I didn't want to catch a cold. Because I was planning to move from Saturday was my checkout day to transfer to the other hotel. I believe that was the day we moved. I was there Thursday, Friday. Yeah. So Saturday I moved to the next hotel, which was um, the DoubleTree Hotel. So I said goodbye to the Hilton, and I went over to the DoubleTree on Saturday. So Friday I did the Cistern. I walked around. I saw where the mosque was and some of these other places were, but I didn't go in because we were doing an all day. We had an all day tour scheduled for Sunday, but I kind of walked around, so I kind of got some familiarity with like that part of the city and what was around there. Now, when you go to that part of the city, you're going to encounter very aggressive salespeople. They're not rude, but they want you to come into their store. Everybody's got a little store, and they have like, spices and essential oils and things like that, and rugs, lots and lots of rugs. We'll talk about the rugs in a minute. And everybody wants you to come in. And Turkish people are super friendly and very polite, and they're going to offer you tea. And I really do like their tea. But they want you to come in and look at their stuff, and they're gonna, welcome you, ask you where you're from. You're gonna get asked where you're from 100 times. But I felt like people were polite. The thing I did not like was the taxi drivers. So once again, I get out of the Cistern, and I also need to get back to my hotel, and I need to make a trip to Gucci because I want to go to Gucci to see if they got that bag. Y'all didn't forget about that bag, did you? Because I did not. So I'm trying, and it's raining. It's a rainy day, and the traffic is horrible inside. This is like the historic shopping district near where the Blue Mosque, the Hagia Sophia, all that stuff is there. The Cistern, all these historical tourist type spots are inside of this neighborhood. So, and you can't park. Like, it's a part of that part is walking only. So there's only limited places cars. So you can imagine traffic is not the greatest. So I'm trying to call an Uber, y'all, to take me back to my hotel so I can change and head over, get out. It's raining. I have my umbrella. I've got my little slicker. It's chilly. I'm calling an Uber. Call Uber. The guy takes the ride and then sends me a message saying, oh, because of traffic, it's going to be 30 euros. This is a 10-minute drive, 15-minute drive. Even with traffic, it's not 20 minutes. It's like 15 minutes or less. I said, absolutely not. Cancel the ride. Ask for another car. They send me the same driver. Now he's trying to negotiate me. Well, how much do you want to pay? I told him no. And I told him, send me a different driver because I was so annoyed, right? They send me another driver. Now this one says, because of traffic, it's going to be 20 US, right? So I say, okay, fine. So I have to pay $20 USD for a ride. Now, granted, in America, Uber ain't cheap either, right? But what annoyed me about it was that they weren't going to make that if they use their meter. So they're trying to, before they even drive even a little bit, they're already trying to jack up the price on you to take you somewhere. It was very, very annoying. I did not enjoy dealing with Uber in Istanbul, but there's no other way, because if you call an Uber, you're getting a taxi. If you need to go somewhere, you're getting a taxi. You either walk in or you're getting a taxi, right? So and it's raining, so I'm trying to get out the rain, trying to get back to the hotel, I'm trying to get somewhere else that I need to go, and I had a meeting a work related thing that I needed to be back at my hotel for. So I'm trying to hustle and get a bunch of stuff done before I come back in. So he picks me up, you know. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, we agreed on a certain amount, so that's how much I'm paying for this ride. Get to the hotel. He doesn't pull me up in front of the hotel. He pulls me up on the other lane of the hotel. And then he's trying to see if I'm going to just pay him cash. Honey, this is where I don't speak English and I can pretend I don't understand nothing that you're talking about. I don't speak your language. I can pretend I don't understand nothing what you're talking about. And I told him, oh, no, you're going to have to figure it out with Uber. And look, the guy who, the doorman, he came over at the same time that I'm like, what are you talking about? And opened the door for me to come out. So he walked across from the hotel, right, and came and got me. So I was like, I don't know what's going on over here, but let me come and go get this lady. He opens the door and says, is everything okay, madame? I'm like, oh, yeah. And I said to the guy, deal with Uber, right? So he had to get paid with Uber. So he's trying to then tell me that I'm supposed to pay him. And I'm like, no, you're getting paid by Uber, right? So if you're going to Istanbul, gird your loins for the taxi drivers. I suggest trying to stay in one of the historic districts so that you can, as much as possible, walk and not deal with the taxi drivers. The only reason I didn't walk was because it was raining so much. And so I didn't want to get wet. So I ended up taking a taxi because I actually could have walked, right? It would have been a good 20, 25 minute walk, but I don't mind walking if it's a nice day because you get to see things and you find things that way. And it's safe. I mean, the area I was staying in, it was a safe area. I could have walked, but because of the weather was so crappy, I had to take a taxi. And I did not enjoy dealing with the taxis because every time I got in a taxi, I felt like I was getting ripped off. I'm just be honest with you. And there's nothing you could do about it because, the taxi drivers are going to take the longest route. They're going to do all these different things so they can keep you in the taxi, so the meter can be running, so they can make more money. It's very annoying. And you're in the city. And my thing is, I'm mapping stuff all the time. So while I'm not from there, I kind of know how long the ride is supposed to take. I mapped every ride before I did it. So I was like, this is not supposed to take this long. Take a faster route. And I put it into the thing with one of the drivers on Google Translate and told him that because he was trying to play games with me. So the taxi situation is a pain in Istanbul. And we had some other encounters on tours with taxi drivers that indicated that it's like a whole racket dealing with the taxi drivers. But for me, that didn't take away from the experience. So I moved over to another hotel. I met up with Raina. And we had an all-day tour of Istanbul, and it was great. We went to the, and this was on Sunday, we went to the Blue Mosque. He took us through the Hippodrome, which is what used to be a square that was built by the Romans, and there's still ruins built by the Romans there that you can see. But it was basically something that used to be like a Colosseum, sort of. But the walls are gone, but the surface of, some of the ruins from it are still there. And then the Blue Mosque is really close to there. So the whole area you can just walk. So we walk from there over to the Blue Mosque, and we walk from the Blue Mosque over to where the Hagia Sophia is. We did the Blue Mosque. I'm not a religious person, as you probably know if you follow me. Hey, Jennifer Kennedy. I think mosques are beautiful. I think all churches are beautiful, but I don't spend a lot of time in them. So we did the Blue Mosque. I took lots of video in there. You had to take your shoes off. You had to cover your head. You have to be respectful. I made sure that I was dressed appropriately, no cleavage, no none of that stuff, because I knew we were going to mosque that day. Our guide spent a lot of time telling us about the history of, the places we were visiting and some historical stuff. I'm really not good with that stuff because I don't retain that information. I retain some of it, but not all of it. But he did a good job of giving us a lot of information about the culture and the history of the country. And it has a really rich and interesting history because it was occupied by the Romans, then it was occupied by the Ottomans for a gazillion years. Then how they achieved independence during World War I is very fascinating. But once we did the Blue Mosque, me and Raina agreed that we didn't really feel like we needed to go into the Hagia Sophia. So we went over there, we saw it, we took pictures. We Raina went and got ice cream, so we got to do the fun ice cream thing, which I will put up a video about that too. That was a lot of fun. It was hilarious. It was hilarious because Raina did it and I was not subjected to the craziness. I just got to videotape it. But it was so fun watching her do it, and you guys will get a giggle when I put that up. But we did the whole, there's the ice cream that they make in Turkey is usually primarily from goat's milk, and the way that they make it, it's heavier. So the guys do this thing where they can like move it around almost like a ball, because it's not it's not melting at the pace that regular ice cream does. And so you can go to buy the ice cream and they play this little game with you before they actually give it to you. If you've seen it on Instagram, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you'll see it when I put the video up. It's amusing. I don't know if it would be amusing if I was being the one trying to get my ice cream cone from the guy, but it was fun watching it. So we did that. Then we went back to the cistern because she hadn't seen it, and I was telling her about it. So the guide was like, would you like to go see it? So we went. It was twice the people in there the second time because it was Sunday. It was packed with people. So I was really glad that I had gone on, was it Friday? That I had gone on Friday and I got to see it before it was really, really packed with people. I'm checking things to make sure I'm telling you the right order in which I did stuff. Yeah, so we did that. We were out all day. And then, oh, wait a minute. I missed something, you guys. The day that we arrived and met up was Saturday. We went out to dinner that night. We went to this restaurant called the Seven Hills Restaurant. I don't recommend it. I tell you all the things I like. I'm going to tell you the things I don't like too. The best thing about that experience was the view. The view was amazing. It was in the same neighborhood where the Blue Mosque and the cistern and all those things are located. The views are beautiful. You have beautiful views, and the mosque at night is it's beautiful. It's lit up and it's gorgeous. But the food, I am from the Caribbean, as you all know. My parents were born in Trinidad and Tobago, on the island of Tobago. I'm getting ready to do a meetup there very, very soon. I like seasoning in my food. I can't eat fish and seafood that is just been cooked in olive oil with salt and pepper. I didn't enjoy the food at all. And it was, I'm saying this to y'all because I was getting ready to tell you all about the second tour Raina and I did, and I wanted to talk about this first. So Raina and I went there for dinner. Beautiful views, lived up to that. Did not like the food. Neither one of us. We were both kind of like, yeah, she probably enjoyed her meal more than I did. I had like these fried fish, these mini fish that I recognize because I've had them in the Caribbean, but they're made completely different and they're delicious in the Caribbean because they're seasoned before they fry them. It wasn't good. And I had one of the worst margaritas I've ever had. We had to send it back. And I just bought a bottle of wine because I was like, okay, the cocktails are not happening in this place either. So we just got a bottle of rosé. Turkish wine is actually good. But in this particular restaurant, I did not enjoy the food. And I did not enjoy the margaritas that they made us. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. It's not because I live in Mexico and I have access to really good margaritas, which I do, but it was just because it was really bad. It's literally like we sipped it, both looked at each other and put it down. We're like, no, we can't drink this. So we had to send it back. And I don't like to send things back, but we had to send them back. And I explained to him, he asked me like, what about it was bad? And I explained it to him and he got it. And so we ended up getting a bottle of wine. Service was impeccable. Wait staff, wonderful. Lovely restaurant. You know, as Aretha Franklin would say, God rest her soul. Beautiful gowns, right? Beautiful restaurant. The food. Then one good thing about that is when we came downstairs from the Seven Hills restaurant, there was a shopping center, like a little mini, like they're like jewelry stores. All along that area, there's like jewelry places. Tourist type places. So Raina and I was like, I think I need another suitcase, right? Because I was like, I think I'm going to want to buy some stuff. Because I started seeing things right away. I was like, I think I should get another suitcase to take some stuff back. So I went in the store to look for a little suitcase and I found one, it was smaller than the one I had. While we were in there, We look across the room and we see these shoes. This line on the wall of these fur mules. Here they are. I'm going to show you the one that I got, but I'm going to tell you the story first. So we see these mules on the wall, and Raina and I are like, oh my God, those are stunning, right? So we run over and we're looking at them. They're mules, but they're embroidered and they have these fur across the top of them. And they had them in red and purple and blue and all these colors. Raina wears a size 40, I think, and I wear like a 38, 39, depending on the cut of the shoe. I wear like a 7.5 to 8. So I have, not small feet, but, medium size feet. 7.5 to 8, sometimes 8.5, but usually between 7.5 and 8 primarily is what I wear. So we're looking at the shoes. The suitcase has gone out of my mind. I'm looking at these shoes. So I asked the guy how much the shoes are. He says they're $85. I said, if I buy the suitcase, are you going to give me a deal? And basically he was like, they're $85. So I said to Raina, we're going to be here for a couple of days. We're going out on a tour tomorrow. We're going on another tour after that. I'm going to wait because, we might see these somewhere else and we could just get them later. Because I just felt, I was being cheap. The moral of the story is don't be cheap. I was being cheap. And so I was like, we'll try to get them another time. But I couldn't stop talking about those shoes. Me and Raina were talking about the shoes for the entire rest of the trip. So I get the suitcase, which is what I came to get. We get in a taxi. We go back to the hotel. Both of us were really tired because I wanted to go bar hopping, but both of us were talking about going bar hopping, but we were tired. Both of us were tired because we literally, she had just come in and the jet lag was kicking my butt. So, and I was like, if you want to go hit some bars, we can do that. And she was like, no, I'm kind of tired. So we went back to the hotel after we left the store and saw those shoes. And then the next morning we had to get up bright and early. Our tour guide met us. It was Sunday, 9 a.m. And like I said, we went and we saw all these places and we were out all day, like walking. So when we got back, did we go to dinner? I don't think we did. I think we were tired. We ate. We also went out and had lunch at a restaurant during the tour, and I didn't enjoy that food either. So now I've had a bad dinner on Saturday evening, and I've not had a good lunch on Sunday, right? And when I got back to the hotel, I wasn't super hungry. I was just tired. So, and I had to do some work stuff. So I just, I don't think I even ate dinner on Sunday evening. So I think we stopped and got something, but we didn't have like a dinner on Sunday evening. And then the next day we were getting up early again to do a city tour. And this was more of a tour of the non-tourist spots in Istanbul. So this was going to be a tour of a couple of neighborhoods that are well known, but are not as popular as the tourists. It was like, we're not going to go see mosque and we're going to see some, but it's not like we're going to see these different neighborhoods. And so it's called the Circle Tour. And I booked it through Viator. This was not in a part of the regular package. I found it. I said to Raina, this is the benefit of just doing something with one other person. I sent it to her. Saturday, Monday was actually a free day on the tour itinerary where each of us could go off on our own and do whatever we wanted. But since it was just the two of us, I said to her, I found this tour. I'm planning to go on this tour. Would you like to go on this tour with me? She looked at it. She said, this sounds great. I'd love to go. I booked the tour for both of us. We had a ball. I enjoyed that tour on Sunday, honestly, more than the one we did, the tour on Monday, more than the one we did on Sunday. The one on Sunday was great, and you got to see the tourist spots, which you should see if you've never been to Istanbul. But the second tour, we went to the neighborhoods of Karakoy on the Asian side. We went to the Balat, which is another neighborhood. And we went to, what was the first neighborhood we went to? I can't remember the name of it. It was great. I'm gonna have to pull it up because I want to tell you guys exactly where we went. I highly recommend this tour if you go to Istanbul. I loved it. And our tour guide was this young man named Kime. He was just wonderful. Just wonderful. He took us to places that I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have necessarily found on our own to see. And so I really enjoyed it. The day before on Sunday, we had also done like a cruise across a river, like a little mini river cruise. I didn't enjoy it at all. It felt like a ferry ride. You know how everybody gets on the boat on the ferry when you're going from Staten Island to New York? It felt like that. And y'all know I like to be on the water, but I like to be on the water in a yacht or a catamaran. I didn't enjoy it. I'm just being honest. Raina loved it because you got to see a lot of things along the river. I didn't like it. However, when we went from the European side to the Asian side the next day to visit Karakoy, because Karakoy is a neighborhood on the Asian side of Istanbul, and we took a boat to get over there. I actually enjoyed that one more than the one we did the day before. But I'm going to tell you about the tour because I want to tell you the neighborhood that we went to because I thought it was I think I want you to know exactly where we went. So we went to the neighborhood it was called the Circle Istanbul Extraordinary Istanbul Tour. It was 11 hours, and it really was 11 hours long. The tour included breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We got to have a traditional Turkish breakfast. So he met us in Taksim, right off of Taksim Square, which is a historic square in the city. And he took us to Turkish breakfast. Basically, y'all, on that day, I found out where the good food in Turkey resided because I was getting worried about whether Turkey had any good food. After the first day, I didn't eat nothing I enjoyed. And I was like, where's all this Turkish food that everybody keeps telling me is good? We found out where the Turkish food resides on this tour, and it was outstanding. Because y'all know I get excited about food. So we did 3 neighborhood tours, snacks, dinner, lunch, breakfast, and we experienced a traditional Turkish hammam. Now, we are already an hour in, and I'm not going to keep y'all for much longer. What I will summarize and say is, if you are ever in Istanbul, you should do this tour. To me, this is a tour that you should do. But what I learned in this tour is, I'm going to talk about the hammam first. So we went to the neighborhoods of Karakoy, Kadikoy, and Balat. Karakoy was the first neighborhood. We went to Turkish breakfast in Karakoy. Karakoy. Then we went to Kadikoy. Kadikoy is a neighborhood on the Asian side of the city, and then Balat is a neighborhood back on the European side, which is the main part of Istanbul that most people see is the European side. Of the 3 neighborhoods that we visited, I enjoyed Kadikoy the most, the one that was on the Asian side of the city. I enjoyed all of them. They're picturesque, they're beautiful, the beautiful colored buildings. He took us to see this view of the waterfront, like the ocean front. So there's the river, the Bosphorus River. It flows into the Black Sea, I believe. And there is a waterfront where the cruise ships and stuff come in. He took us there. But first we went and had Turkish breakfast, which is outstanding. You must have the Turkish breakfast when you go to Turkey. I loved it. It was delicious. I loved everything, but they had these, they call them, they're like, well, I guess what they tell you as an American is that it's like stuffed pancakes, but it's with meat and potatoes, and it's kind of like a tortilla-like bread. There's a lot of similarities between Turkish food and Greek food and Mediterranean. It's basically Mediterranean. So because all of them are kind of along the Mediterranean, a lot of the food is similar. I felt that there was a lot of similarities between the food that I had in Istanbul, and as well as in Cappadocia, and the food that I had in Athens and in Egypt even. But I really, really enjoyed. Now, my favorite of those 3 places is still Greek food. Greek food is thebomb.com. But the second favorite is Turkish food. I enjoyed the Turkish food. But I first had to have someone take me so that I got to see what it was actually supposed to taste like. Because the day before, I felt like the tour guide took us to places that he had relationships with, as did the person who took us on the circle tour. The difference was the person on the circle tour took us to the good food places. The day before, I felt like the food he took us to was in a very tourist part of town, which is where the mosque and all those places, as I explained. And in there, the food's not going to be as good because it's just all people from cruise ships, people from every place come into that neighborhood. And so you're not going to get the best food in there. But when you go into these smaller neighborhoods like Karakoy, and that's where the good food is at. And the Turkish breakfast was outstanding. I had to weeble wobble myself out of there because I ate so much. And we walked. And thankfully, we walked all day. Because if we hadn't walked, I would have felt a lot worse about how much I ate for breakfast. Because I was trying everything and everything tastes so good and I couldn't stop eating. And so we walked. He walked us from the first neighborhood, Karakoy. Then we walked till we got down to the riverfront. And he stopped along the way and showed us all these different places. I really enjoyed it. And then we got on the riverboat and went across the Bosphorus to Kadikoy. And we had lunch in Kadikoy. We walked around Kadikoy. We went to a traditional market where I actually bought some honeycomb honey. One of the things they eat for breakfast is like a mottled cream with honeycomb honey. Not just regular honey, but the honeycomb is still in it. So good. So I bought some of that. So we went to like a traditional marketplace. We also stopped and had Turkish tea, Turkish coffee, some of the best baklava I've ever had in my life. And I'm not even a baklava lover, y'all, until now. Now I am. Because I've always thought it's so sweet. I don't really like it. But with some good Turkish coffee, it's delicious. And with some good Turkish tea, it's delicious. He took us down to this neighborhood where we walked across this like bridge, and he showed us their version of the gondola. You could take like a gondola ride, very affordable, unlike Venice. I'm sorry, y'all. The noise that you're hearing is fireworks. I live in Mexico, and they shoot off fireworks whenever they feel like it, and that's all there is to it. Sorry, they're doing it. I don't know why. Maybe it's a holiday. Who knows? Roll with me. So I highly recommend that tour. I thought it was fantastic. I got to really like get a better understanding of the city, the neighborhoods, the food. I had some of the best shawarma. By the end of the day, I literally couldn't eat anything else. And we had dinner, and the dinner was excellent too. He took us to this restaurant in Taksim Square. He walked us through Taksim Square, and we found out that there was great shopping in Taksim Square. So me and Raina hit the Zara. What me and Raina did the night before was we also had we did some shopping in the evening. That's what we did that I forgot about. We went shopping, and we found a African restaurant that I had heard about. It was wonderful. So we when we walked through Taksim Square, we saw that there was another Zara in there. I believe in visiting every Zara in every city that I visit. I always find something great. I found the cutest little purse that I'm taking with me to Tobago at the Zara in Turkey. So we went shopping. When you see it, you'll see why I think it's so beautiful. But I couldn't stop talking about those shoes. I was talking about those shoes to Raina for the whole day that we were doing the circle tour. For the whole day that we did the first tour, which was on Sunday. Then Sunday, we went to, after we finished the tour on Sunday, we decided to go do some shopping because the Saturday, I think it was the day before, I told you guys I had wanted to go to Gucci. I went to Gucci, found out they did in fact have my bag. This was in the evening. And the guy told me that he could have it sent over from, there are two Gucci stores in Istanbul. He said they had it at the other store. He would contact them, have them send it to him, and I could come back and get it. So what you think happened? I went back and got my bag. So Friday, I did that on Friday. Then on Saturday, I went and picked up my bag, checked out the hotel, went over to the other hotel, met up with Raina, went to dinner, saw those shoes, talked about the shoes all day on Sunday, talked about the shoes all day on Monday, but was like, we don't have time to go back over there because we were out all day on Sunday. After we got out of that tour on Sunday, we went shopping. We went to the mall. We went like this big mall. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll probably tag it when I do a video about it. It is one of the best shopping experiences I've ever had, and it was because it turned out that the Gucci at that shopping area was where they had sent my bag from. and it is the flagship Gucci in Istanbul. This shopping center had every store you could think of inside of it. When you drove in, it was, what was the name of that neighborhood? It was in a particular neighborhood because I mentioned it to my tour guide. He knew what I was talking about right away. And it was about a 20-minute drive by taxi without traffic from our hotel, which was closer to Taksim Square, over to this shopping mall. They had all the stores: Prada, Gucci, Fendi, Chanel. They had 2 Chanels in there, plus the Chanel makeups. They had the Chanel makeup store, then they had Chanel. They had H&M, Zara, Tumi. I mean, you name it. And you could get your tax-free stuff processed right on site. These people understand what the shopping experience is supposed to be. I had my refund process before I even left the country. It was a wonderful experience. And yes, you can get your tax-free shopping in Turkey. But better than that is, because of the difference in currency and currency conversion, I saved $600 on that Gucci bag because I bought it in Turkish lira. I'm going to say that again. I saved $600 buying that bag in Istanbul because I bought it in Turkish lira. When I went on the Turkish Gucci site and I did the math on a piece, I saw the price, I did the conversion, then I took out the US price and I saw the difference in price. I hightailed it over to Gucci to get that bag. In the rain, y'all. In the rain, I went over there. Got stuck, couldn't get a taxi back for like 20 minutes, did not care. When the guy said, we have it and we will have it for you tomorrow at 2:00, I said, thank you, Jesus, hallelujah. He was laughing at me. Okay. And I was like, I'll see you tomorrow at 2:00. When we went to that shopping center, they had everything in there. We went to the Zara and did a little shopping. That's why I think I found the purse that I'm crazy about. I found this bag there. I had a ball. Listen, don't judge me. I had a ball, or judge me if you want. I don't really care. I had a ball up in there, which is why it was good that I bought an extra little suitcase, because I needed it. When we did the tour with Goreme through the different neighborhoods, I found this duster, like a kimono. Oh my God, it's hand embroidered. Beautiful. Wait till y'all see it. Beautiful. I think I paid $120 for it. And Goreme said to me, when I looked at it, I said to the guy, how much is this? And he said, Goreme says to me, it's going to be expensive because it's hand embroidered. He said, I could look at it and tell it was hand embroidered. The guy said $100, $120. I was like, and I bargained a little bit with him, so I got him down. Well, actually what it was he wanted me to pay cash and I said no. And then he was saying it was going to be an extra whatever percent if I paid credit card. And I said, well, then I'm not buying it. And then he was like, okay, you can have it. I was like, yeah, because I'm not paying extra anything. Credit cards, it's 2024. You're going to take the credit card and you're not going to charge me anything extra for it. It was beautiful. You wait till y'all see it. It's beautiful. For $120, there is no way that I would get that in America. That would have easily been $200, $300. Beautiful. Jennifer asked, are you doing a separate video of things you purchased? Yes, I am. I'm going to do a separate video. But, oh my God, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. The kimono is so beautiful. And I haven't worn it yet. I'm actually not taking it with me. But I kept talking about those shoes, y'all. So we left on Sunday, Monday we did the tour. Tuesday, we flew to Cappadocia, me and Reina. So we get up early again. We fly to Cappadocia. I'm still talking about those shoes. Remember the shoes. We get to Cappadocia. We only had one full day in Cappadocia. So we got to Cappadocia. We get off the plane. We go get a car. Same, we got a taxi. There's no Uber in Cappadocia. And it's 90 degrees in Cappadocia. 60, 65 degrees, 70 degrees in Istanbul. It's 85, 90 degrees in Cappadocia. Thank God for that maxi skirt and a t-shirt, which is what I wore on the tour the next day because it was hot. And there was no Uber. Now, what makes Cappadocia special, it's a UNESCO site, is that there are all these natural rock formations there. And there are also these houses that were built into the mountains that are called cave houses. They're cave hotels. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, like when you're coming from the airport and you're watching, you're seeing it for the first time. It's beautiful. I was visiting Cappadocia for the second time, but Reina was awestruck because when you've never seen it before, it's really quite something to see. The drive from the airport is about an hour, as close to an hour, depending on, but it's about a 45 to an hour to drive from the airport. We flew in. There are two different airports, but the airport we flew into, Kayseri, was about 50-minute drive. We stayed at the DoubleTree Avnos. Now, Cappadocia is not a town; it is an area. So it is made up of about 3 different towns. It's Avnos, Goreme, and 2 other ones. I stayed in Goreme the first time. This time we stayed in Avnos. Um, Thank you, B. Yes, please hit the like button to support my video and support my channel. I would very much appreciate if you're watching this, if you would hit the like button, if you're enjoying my little story. So the thing to understand is it's not, a lot of people think Cappadocia is a town. It's not a town. It's a region. So, but what makes it special is that throughout that region, you have these rock formations and you have these cave homes. And there's a whole, what they call an outdoor museum made up of all these caves. There's a church that was built into the caves, their homes, and you get to see how people were living. And so the first evening when we got there, we went out to dinner. We asked the taxi driver, who did we ask? Because we got there and we went into, we checked in, and then we took a taxi, went to Goreme. Oh, we went to this rooftop bar where I had a most excellent cosmopolitan. You also know, I believe that I must have a Cosmo everywhere I go in the world. A most excellent Cosmo. They didn't know how to make the cocktails that good at the Seven Hills, but up there in Cappadocia, they know what time it is. So they were not serving lunch. We were so hungry, y'all, because it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. So we went there intending to eat, found out they weren't serving, had a cocktail, took pictures. It's beautiful. Goreme is my favorite, like of the towns. We stayed in Avanos this time. I enjoy Goreme. I would actually say if you're going to Cappadocia for the first time, stay there. You can walk most places, some of the best restaurants. You could do everything there. The first time I went, I stayed there. I got a rug while I was there. If you want a rug, I suggest you buy it in Cappadocia. You probably get a better price. The prices these people were quoting us in Istanbul, I was like, this man must be on something if he thinks I'm gonna pay $3,000 for a little rug. I'm so glad that I bought a rug the first time I went to Cappadocia. And I felt like the man had taken me, but when I found out how much it cost to get what I bought in Cappadocia and Istanbul, I was like, praise be. Now that rug is hanging in my cousin's house right now, but it's lovely. It's a silk rug, which is the highest end rug you can get. It's a small one. I had it framed. I paid a lot for it, but nowhere near what you would pay for it now in Istanbul. Turkey and Istanbul in particular has gotten more expensive, and Cappadocia is more expensive than when I went there back in 2019. Since COVID and everything, it is more expensive. What's the name of the rooftop bar for the cocktails? Let me tell you. Let me put on my glasses again. What was the name of that place we went to? I found it on Instagram. What was the name of that place? I will link it in the description because I don't have it in my TripIt. My dog wants to say hello. She's jumping on me. Come here. Really fast. You can say hi and then you have to go away. This is Ashton, my poodle. She's very spoiled. She wants to say hi. Okay, Ashton, you have to sit down now. No more jumping. So I will put the rooftop be in the description because I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head and I can't find it in my TripIt, but I will put it in there because I definitely recommend going there. And they actually have live music around 6 o'clock. And he had invited us to come back for the live music, but he recommended this restaurant called Çiçek. I will put the name in the description. It begins with a D. It was most excellent. It was very traditional. You sat like on those low tables and on rugs. The food was outstanding. The food was outstanding. I will say that the food I ate in Cappadocia was outstanding. We were only there for a full day and a half, but everything I ate while I was there was pretty damn good. But this was probably my favorite meal. And well, our farewell dinner was really, really good too. The restaurant we went there. I'll give you the name of both of those places because I wrote them down, but I don't have them like really handy that I can grab them now. But oh my goodness. And then there was another restaurant that our tour guide told us about called Orient, but we didn't get a chance to go there. So we went to dinner. Well, actually, it wasn't even dinner. It was like an early, like lunch, like a late lunch, early dinner. Um, on our first day when we got off the plane, we did that. We were tired. Yes, I'm a 50-plus-year-old woman. And I'm game if other people want to do stuff. But when someone says I'm tired, I'll be like, yay, they're tired. So Raina, I was like, do you want to go? And after we ate dinner, we ate a lot at dinner. It was good and it was reasonably priced. We were tired, and because I was like, oh, we could go to the rooftop bar. And then we were both like, yeah, because we had again to get up early in the morning to meet our tour guide for our full day of a tour in Cappadocia. And Raina had to get up even earlier than that to do that gorgeous photo shoot that's on my Instagram. So she had to get up, do her shoot, and then meet us back at the hotel. I actually got to sleep late because of her. I had them start our tour later. All of our tours were privately guided tours throughout this. That's how I do my stuff on my trips. So I was able to just tell the tour guide, let's start the tour at 10:30 to give her time to do her shoot and get back so that we could start the tour together. So I got to actually sleep a little bit later, but she had to get up really early. So she was tired, probably more tired than me. And we were out all day and it was hot. Listen, it was hot. And I feel bad because I made a rookie mistake. I was so focused on how cold it was going to be in Istanbul because I didn't want to catch cold that I didn't really focus on what it was going to be in Cappadocia. Because last time I went to Cappadocia, it was chilly because it was October that I went. In April, apparently, by April, it's 90 degrees, y'all. And there's not a lot of shade in Cappadocia. It's dry heat, but it's hot. And you outside. So keep that in mind. If you go, make sure you check the weather for not just Istanbul, but also for wherever else you're going in the country, because Turkey is big and the temperatures are not all the same across the country. That's the takeaway on that. And Istanbul is a metropolitan city. It actually reminds me a lot of Mexico City, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. It kind of reminds me, like when I was walking through some of the neighborhoods, it was kind of reminding me of like being in Roma, or being in some of these other neighborhoods in Mexico City. It had that kind of feel to me. Not the same, but it kind of had some of the neighborhoods that had that kind of feel to me. Very walkable, but old, and interesting. And the colored buildings, it's like really, really, I really enjoyed Istanbul. I personally enjoyed Istanbul. Raina might have enjoyed Cappadocia more because if you've never, Cappadocia is what people see a lot on Instagram. They think it's Turkey, but it's Cappadocia, Turkey. It's not the whole country. Istanbul is a metropolitan city. I love Istanbul. I want to go back to Istanbul. I'm just letting y'all know. If y'all see me, in a video later this year and I'm back in Istanbul, don't be surprised. If I leave Mexico this summer to go anywhere, if I see a cheap ticket to Istanbul, I will jump on that. I loved it there. Loved it. Do I need to go back to Cappadocia? No, I do not. I've been there twice now. Don't need to do it again. Would I go back to Istanbul? Absolutely. I also want to make it to the Turkish Riviera. So that's next. My next plan is back to Istanbul, Turkish Riviera. Love it there. Highly recommend it. I'm a city person. So Cappadocia to me was perfect for a day and a half. You can see everything you need to see in Cappadocia in 2 days and then go on to somewhere else. You don't need to spend more, but you cannot see Istanbul in 3 days. It's not enough time. There's too much to the city. The city is vast. There's so many different areas, neighborhoods. Like when we went shopping that night, we found that the African restaurant that I had heard about was only 10 minutes drive from the big mall where we went shopping. So we went over there and had dinner before we headed back to the hotel. The food was outstanding. Who knew you were going to get you some good jollof in Istanbul, y'all? The good jollof and the good fried fish with the red sauce. Listen, we were up there eating and looking at each other like, can you believe this? Can you believe this? Can you believe this? Because again, we didn't have great food that day. So we were so excited to have a good meal by that evening. And then the next day we had all that good food. And then we went to Cappadocia and had good food. We went to our farewell dinner was at this restaurant called, I'm going to tell you because I think I do have this one in my TripIt. I didn't put that one in there either. Lila's. Lila's or Leah's, I believe. And it was in another town in Cappadocia. And I'll put the name of it in the description. It is not an inexpensive restaurant, but if you want to have like a nice restaurant experience in a beautiful environment, go there for dinner. If you go to Cappadocia with your man, which Cappadocia is a very sexy place, it's a good place to take a man or a woman or whoever, whatever your preference might be. I don't judge. Cappadocia, very sexy, beautiful restaurant for like a date night. We had dinner there. It was outstanding. The service was top tier. Enjoyed it. Now, the takeaways from this, because I've gone way over on this because I've enjoyed talking about this trip, as you can tell. Turkey, I highly recommend it. I felt comfortable there. The only thing I didn't like about it was the taxi situation, right? But in Istanbul, you can use Uber, but they're taxis. In Cappadocia, you got to deal with the taxi drivers, and there's no Uber. The hotel calls a taxi driver, and he gave me his car, and I ended up just using him for the entire time I was there. Do I feel he gave me the best price per se? No, I do not. But he spoke perfect English because he told me he lived in San Francisco for a short period of time, and he was reliable. I messaged him, said we needed pick up, drop off, whatever. He was great. But you're gonna bring money for the taxis, y'all. I don't know what else to tell you. I recommend, if you're going to Cappadocia, stay in Goreme. Why? Because you can walk over everywhere pretty much there. Most of the photo shoots and those kinds of things that people do happen in Goreme or Goreme adjacent. The balloons go up from Goreme. So to me, of the towns in Cappadocia, the best one to stay in is Goreme because you will not have to mess with the taxis. You can pretty much walk everywhere you want to go and you will not need to mess with the taxis. And if you do a tour, they will transfer you wherever you need to go and you won't need to mess with the taxis. The first time I went to Cappadocia, I never stepped foot in a taxi. But because we stayed in Avanos this time, and Avanos is a really cute town as well. Very, very nice. But we spent time there as a part of our tour when we went out that day. We were on a tour all day. He took us through multiple towns to see the rock formations. There's an area, valley, where they call it the Imagination Valley. And there are all these formations. Some of them look like camels, animals, people kissing, all kinds of stuff. They call it imagination because you have to you look at it and whatever your imagination says it looks like is what it looks like. It's a fascinating place. You have to see that. They have all these really great photo op spots that you can go and take pictures. But again, Cappadocia, 2 days tops. That's all you need. You go, you see everything. You go to the outdoor museum, you go do a balloon ride, you go do your little photo shooting or whatever, eat some good food, buy a rug. If you want a rug, if you want some of these kinds of, I bought a tea set in Istanbul. I went into one of the neighborhoods, into one of the little stores that the regular people went in, and I got it for like 40 Turkish lira. In the gift shop, they were charging 300 lira, one for the cup, one for the bowl. And I was going to pay it. I didn't think it wasn't a lot. Even 300 lira is not that much money, but I got it for 40 lira in the little neighborhood. So if you're in Istanbul, do your shopping in the neighborhoods. Don't do it by the Hagia Sophia or by the Blue Mosque or over in that area. Sightsee over there, but don't buy anything. That's just my personal opinion. Shop at Taksim Square. Shop in go to Karakoy, go to Karakoy, go to Balat. Shop in those neighborhoods. You'll get better pricing. And if you want to buy rugs, do it in Cappadocia. Now, it's going to cost you, but it ain't going to cost you what it'll cost you in Istanbul. I assure you of that. Because then people was talking about $2,000 and $3,000 for a rug this big. Silk. Now they are silk. The silkworms, we got to go into a factory. We got to actually see how they use the silkworms, how they spin it. It's fascinating, but it ain't worth $3,000 for me. I was like looking at, Raina laughed at me because I said, girl, that's a handbag at Gucci. I'm not paying that for a rug. Because y'all see my value system is not quite what everybody else's value system is. So I was kind of like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Not doing it. Right. But I definitely recommend. Thank you. She said, I'm not a picture girly with the photos. You're not a picture girly because you choose not to be a picture girly. You could be a picture girly if you wanted to be one. We all are picture girlies. Everybody has a perfect angle. Everybody has a perfect color. Everybody, I don't care what you look like. You can look fabulous in a photo shoot. So you can be a picture girly if you want. But let me tell y'all, Istanbul is the place for me. I'm trying to go back. Are there many Black tourists there? Yes. Yes, there are. We saw a lot of Black people from the States as well as African countries. Yes. I did not have any issues in Istanbul. I was treated well by myself when I was out by myself. And I was treated well when I was with Raina. Raina's gorgeous, so it helps when she showed up. I was like, oh yeah, we gonna have a good time now, because everywhere she went, the men were just like, oh, because she's tall and she's slim and she's got the big hair, and they were just losing their proverbial shit everywhere we went, and it was hilarious and amusing to observe. Okay. But yes, I had a wonderful time in Istanbul. I can't wait to go back there. I felt safe there. I felt respected there. I felt well treated there. When I got there at the hotel, everywhere I went by myself, the only thing I hated was the taxi situation. Is the only thing I didn't like. And it is what it is. You just accept it for what it is, bring you some extra change for the taxis. But I felt like shopping there was fun, very affordable, because the Turkish lira, they're dealing with a lot of inflation there. We are too in the United States and in Mexico, but it's not like what they're dealing with. So the valuation of the lira is weak. And so if you're going to do luxury shopping, it's a great place to do it, because you're paying in lira, and then you can go to the airport. Also, let me tell y'all, the IST International Airport in Istanbul is one of my favorite airports. It's top tier. They handle their security well. They move people well. And their duty-free shopping, baby. Oh, I got to the airport at, what time was my flight? My flight was 8:30 in the morning. I got to airport at like 5 something. Listen, Gucci was open. Everything was open at 5 o'clock in the morning. I said, this is what I am talking about. This is the kind of service. Hermes was open 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Ask me how I know. Everything was open. This is what I am talking about. It wasn't, no, you got to wait till the person shows up to do the tax-free thing because they ain't here yet. It is one of the best run airports I've ever been to. Beautiful airports I've ever been to. They got all the things in that airport. It is a first-class, world-class airport. They put Heathrow to shame, frankly, in my opinion. It's a beautiful airport and very clean. You could eat off the floor in that airport. I love that airport. And I mean, it was one of the things I was impressed by the first time I went. And to me, it's one of the best airports I've been through in the world. They don't harass you about nonsensical things, but they take their security very seriously. Because if you Google, you will know that they have had issues at the airport. This is the new airport, though. Let me tell you, when you get to the airport, you have to go through security. Then you have to go through the second security, right? But for me, I like that because it makes me feel safer. So from the time you step into the airport, you go through a security check. Then after the security check, you go to get your boarding pass or whatever, go get your duty-free, get your stuff done, because I went and got my tax-free stuff taken care of. So you always have to remember, if you do shopping in the country, make sure that you have the things that you bought in your carry-on, because when you go to get your tax thing done, they're going to want to see what you bought. So you can't tell them if that you checked it already, because then you're not going to get it. So the best thing to do is put that stuff in your carry-on. I never check valuable things anyway. So that's why I bought a suitcase, because I was like, yeah, all my stuff need to be with me. Okay. So you want to have your stuff with you. They're going to ask to see it. You show it to them. They stamp your customs form, and then you take it over to the global duty-free desk, and they gave it to me in cash. They didn't even put it back on my credit card. They gave me cash, right? They gave me my money back for the purse that I purchased. So I really liked my shopping experience in Turkey. Definitely, highly recommend. Right? If you like nice things, oh yes, B. Heathrow sucks. I talked about Heathrow before you joined, and this is the last story I'm gonna tell y'all before I go. So, had a fabulous time. Had to fly back from Istanbul, back through Heathrow, back to San Diego. But this time I only had an hour and a half, or about an hour and a half layover. So there's not going to be any shopping. But I'm thinking, because I usually try to not have at least 2 hours or 3 hours, ideally to me is the best time for layovers, because there are delays and, the stress, I get stressed, right? So good old British Airways, as always. We board the plane, but then we're sitting on the tarmac for good 30 freaking minutes before we take off. So we take off late. We get to the airport. So I'm immediately feeling stressed. It's about a 4-hour flight from Istanbul to London. I'm stressed because, why am I stressed? Because I only have an hour and a half layover. And now I have less than that. And I got to deal with that stupid security liquids bullshit. And I'm worrying. And Heathrow is known, Terminal A, infamous Terminal A. If you have ever flown through the airport, you know what I'm talking about, because that's the international terminal. They will tell you to be going to one terminal, and then you find out they changed it and moved you to the other end of the terminal. So I'm worrying now, because I'm like, I'm a land. I'm going to have to go through this security. Who knows how long that's going to take? And then I got to figure out where my terminal is. They said it's in Terminal A, but where, I don't know where in Terminal A it is. Get off the plane. We're late. We get there at 10:30. My flight is starting to board at 11:15. You understand my anxiety, because I ain't trying to miss my flight. So I'm walking as fast as I can to get through to get to the security check. I show the woman my boarding pass. She says, "Oh, you might not make that." And I'm looking at her like, this is not what I want to hear, right? We get to the security, and here we go. They with the plastic bags and telling everybody, get the liquids out and put it in the plastic bag. And now they want you to take out your laptop, and they want you to take out this. And they're slow as molasses in January, like watching paint dry, watching some of these people. So I just went ahead and took everything out, because I didn't want to deal with going back and forth with nobody. Paris, yes, they take their security seriously too. They're ridiculous, but nobody is worse to me than Heathrow. And I've been through it. I actually got into a verbal tussle with a woman in de Gaulle because she was being ridiculous and trying to tell me that my powder was liquid. But that's a whole story for another day. But I took all my stuff out. I did everything they said, even though it was beyond ridiculous. When I was coming, I didn't. I left my liquids exactly where they were, because I had a 6-hour layover and I did not care. And they didn't even take my stuff out. Now, the guy did check my bag, give me a special check. I don't know what he was looking for, but he didn't say nothing about my liquids. But I just knew I'm in a hurry this time coming back, and I got a short time to get to my gate. Let me just go ahead and take all these liquids out so I don't have to deal with no foolishness. Let me take my laptop and my iPad, everything out, do everything the way that they said. I had on these cargo pants that I love wearing when I travel, but I'm not wearing them anymore because they have a lot of like metal clamps and stuff on them. And I always get an extra pat down because I got all these pockets on my pants. I'm not wearing them anymore. I love them, but not wearing them again. So now I got to get an extra pat down and all this foolishness, but at least they didn't single my bag out for extra check like they did when I arrived. And I did the thing with the liquid. So I get through the thing, not a reasonable amount of time, but I get through it in about 10 minutes. So now I have about 10 minutes before boarding to get to my gate. I get to the board, y'all. They have moved my flight to another terminal. So now I have to get on a train. I have to go find the train to get to Terminal B. This is what I mean about British Airways and their foolishness. They do this all the time. Last time they made me go all the way to Terminal D and then got there and the power had gone out in the airport. My flight didn't take off for hours, but I digress. So I get to the gate I make it just when they're about to start boarding. So I made it, and because God is great, got on the plane and had the whole aisle to myself. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? And no children in sight. Won't he do it? Had the whole aisle, stretched out, slept good, had a wonderful flight. So I'm going to give British Airways that, because this is the second time I've done a British Airways flight and got the whole aisle to myself. But the last time it was a premium economy. And so I couldn't lift the arms up and spread out. I had all 3 seats, but I couldn't lay across the seats because it was premium economy aisle. But this time it was an economy aisle, and I had bought the window, and then no one came. I was sitting there, y'all. I was sitting there with bated breath waiting for them to say that they were closing the doors. because no one was coming. People kept walking by. And then this couple, I saw them move to the center aisle because a lot of the seat, there was a row in the center aisle that was empty. They moved to the center aisle and they done laid up and made themselves at home and spread out. And I'm thinking, look at how lucky they are. They got them a whole, middle aisle to themselves. Then this family comes in right at the end of boarding. Find out that they have to get up and move because that was not their seat. So now they're walking around, looking around. Instead of going to their seat, they're walking around, looking around. They looked at my aisle and I looked at them and I was like, where are y'all supposed to be sitting? And she says, oh, well, we just want somewhere to spread out. I said, what you need to do is go sit in the seat you paid for. And that's literally what I said. Because I was like, you are not sitting. You sit here and it's not the seat you paid for. You're not sitting here. So they went, and to come to find out, they were seated 2 rows in front of me and were walking around the plane trying to take other people's seats because they didn't like the seats they paid for. Listen, if that ain't some audacious, Caucasian behavior, I don't know what is. So they said they announced that the flight is closed. I got the whole aisle. Praise be. Right? Praise be. So all in all, my trip to Turkey was wonderful. My mini meetup in Turkey was wonderful. I don't know if I'm going to do another meetup there, but I know I'm going back for sure. I had a wonderful time. Despite all the people that dropped out, me and Raina had a ball. We had a time together. I feel like I've made a friend with her. We had a wonderful time. She was great company. And I can't say enough about Istanbul. And I also enjoyed Cappadocia for the second time. But like I said, to me, Istanbul is the place, right? I didn't even get to do the nightlife or any of that. Next time, I will hope to do a little bit, like see some more of the bars and stuff. Cappadocia has beautiful rooftop bars. So does Istanbul. I love a rooftop bar situation. Cappadocia has beautiful ones. Istanbul does too. Great food. Now that I know where to go to get it, I feel like the next time I go, I will have a better food experience than we did the first couple days I was there. The shopping is on point, right? So for me, Istanbul, first class, top tier. Next time I go, God willing, I want to do Istanbul because I feel like there's still some things I didn't get to do that I would like to do. And I want to go to what they call the Turkish Riviera, their Bodrum and Antalya and some other places on the Mediterranean and the Black Sea that I would like to visit. One of my guides was talking about it and telling me more about how to get there. And, he told me when I come back, if I want help with getting to places I want to go, he will help me. He was lovely. Highly recommend the tour that I mentioned, the Circle Tour experience. Overall, just a top tier experience. Definitely, I would give them out of 10. I would give Istanbul a solid. Istanbul and Cappadocia, this trip, a solid like 9. The reason why they don't get 10 is because of them damn taxis. Them taxis are something else. One thing I didn't tell you about was the hammam experience. I cannot not tell you all about that. Part of that tour, we got to do a traditional hammam. I, of course, have done the spa hammams, at least 3 of them. I did it when I went for the first time. I did one at the hotel when we went to the, I think when I got to the Hilton, I went to the spa and I did a massage. I did the bath and then I did a massage, 90 minutes. It was 90 minutes? Yeah, 90 minutes. It was great. I also did one in Cappadocia, right? Kerem took us to a traditional hammam in a mosque. So the men are separated from the women. The men are on one side, the women are on the other side. It was a very interesting experience. I'm not saying it was a bad experience. What I am saying is I would prefer the spa experience. I'm glad I had the traditional experience. I can see from a cultural perspective how it's a very bonding experience. People are in there, everybody's in there naked together, getting their scrub down. I prefer the just me and the therapist, me and the spa person on a one-to-one situation. I'm not particularly into being in a room filled with strangers with my tatas out. But I'm glad I had the experience. And when I tell you that woman scrubbed me good, she did. However, for those of you who are going to Turkey for the first time, and you want to do the hammam, do a spa experience. I think you'll enjoy it better. If you want to then later do a traditional one where you actually go to a mosque and do it the old style way, you could do that after. But I definitely recommend doing it for the first time. Do it in your hotel in a nice private spa type situation, right? Then if you want to do it the other way, and I'm glad I got to do both experiences, but I think I prefer the spa experience to the traditional one. So we did the traditional one as a part of this tour. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that for those of you who are thinking about going and thinking about doing a hammam. I suggest that you first have a spa experience so you know what it's like. And then if you plan to go to one of the older places, contact them and ask them whether you're going to be in a room with other people or whether you're going to be in a private room. Do they let you wear bikinis in the traditional? You're required to wear bikini bottom in the traditional one. You don't necessarily have to wear a top. Some of the women had tops on. Some of the women had full t-shirts and whatever on, but a lot of them didn't. But you definitely have to, you're required to wear bottoms. If you're doing the spa experience, it's optional. It's up to you how you want to do it. But one of the things I would say is if you do it as a part of a tour, make sure that you bring like extra bottoms with you. And like if you need lotion or all those kinds of things, make sure you have those stuff. If you do it from your hotel and whatever, you don't have to worry about that because you're going straight back to your hotel room. But if you're doing it as a part of a tour like what we did, make sure you understand how it's going to work in advance so that you're prepared. All right. So I'm glad I got to do the traditional one. Actually, I'm very happy about it, but I'm going back to the spa experience next time. I like just laying on the slab of marble, just me and the person who's giving me the scrub. But it's a great experience. I highly recommend it. It's really a unique and interesting experience, and I highly recommend it. Whether now the traditional, and I mean, I didn't feel like the traditional was cheaper. I mean, it was part of the tour. It was included in the price that we paid. So I don't know what it was actually cost, but I definitely enjoyed the spa experience. I think I paid 120 euros for the spa experience I had at the Hilton Bosphorus. And to me, it was worth every penny because it included the massage and the bath, right? And at the DoubleTree in Cappadocia, I think it was like 100. So it was a little bit less, but not by much. And I actually felt that the one I had in the Hilton Bosphorus was better than the one I had at DoubleTree in Avnos. That's just my personal. Both spas were nice, but I felt like that one was better. So I also had one at the Wyndham in Istanbul the first time, and that spa was top tier. So I would suggest doing it in a hotel first if you've never done it before in a spa setting, and then if you want to do a traditional one, then do it after that. And make sure you ask some questions about like, what do you have to wear your bikini bottoms? Like ask all those questions ahead of time so you know exactly what the situation is. When you go in, they usually have you go sit in a sauna to open up your pores and stuff first before you go in. And the room is very hot, so you have to be prepared for that. The marble is heated and the room is warm, but they usually will have you go sit in a sauna first, and then you come out and then you go get the scrub. And then if you are going to have a massage after that, I prefer to have the bath first and then the massage. Some people, like one place, they were telling me you should have the massage first. I was like, no. I want the bath first, and then I want the massage. So it really depends on how you want to do it. But I definitely recommend it. It's a really good way to treat yourself when you go to Istanbul. So I highly recommend it. I don't see any more questions. Let me just go through real fast before we sign off, see if there are any questions. No, I don't see any questions. Thanks, you guys, for hanging in. I know this was a long one. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you learned a lot about Istanbul through this. I really enjoyed myself, as you can tell. I highly recommend Turkey, and I highly recommend Istanbul. Obviously, this is a Muslim country, but it is a very modern Muslim country. So yes, I mean, there are mosques everywhere in Istanbul, everywhere. They're beautiful. I mean, they follow a type of specific Ottoman architecture, and they all have, a lot of them, not all, but most of them have historical and cultural significance. And if you go on a tour, they'll explain that to you. They're everywhere. And if you're going to go in a mosque, you should dress and be respectful. But the rest of the time, I really didn't feel like I needed to be, I had to dress a particular way. I felt that I could wear whatever I wanted there, and everybody around me, including the local people, especially in Istanbul. Istanbul is like a regular city. Um, Cappadocia is hot. I had on a t-shirt with spaghetti straps and a long maxi skirt in Cappadocia. And I didn't feel like I was dressed out of, like anybody was looking at me. So I really like Turkey in that way because I didn't feel like anybody was paying attention to what I was wearing, and everybody kind of was wearing best. You were dressing according to, the temperature and the climate, unless you're going into a mosque. If you're going into a mosque, then you should make sure that you dress appropriately and that you're respectful. So that is all I have for my live tonight. It's a long live because I haven't been live in a while. I don't know when I'm going to go live again. I am going to be doing a lot more like recorded. As you can see, I already have been a lot more recorded in content. So I will be doing lots of content around my trip to Turkey. They'll be going up tomorrow and so over next week. I'm probably going to put together like a vlog of everything that I kind of went over in this video. So like a visual one, so you can see the things that we did, because I shot a lot of video while I was there. It was such a good time. So I will be putting that up over the next couple of weeks. I'm getting ready to head to Tobago for a meetup there. So after Turkey, you'll be seeing a lot of content about that, I'm sure. If you're interested in going on any of my meetup trips with me, I have one more this year to Sicily, and some of you are going on that trip, and who are in my comments. Sicily is in September. I have one spot left for that trip. So if you're interested in that trip, you can go to my website and check out the information about it and grab your spot. I have kept it open for booking until June 1, and then it will close. And then I have a whole calendar of trips for 2025. We're going to Grenada for Valentine's Day. Then we're going to South Africa. And then we're going to, I haven't decided yet whether I'm doing another trip to Tobago next year. That's possible. And then we're doing Portugal in June, and Croatia and Bari, Puglia, Italy in the fall. So if any of those places are of interest to you, you can visit my website and grab a seat. My trips are designed and curated for Black women, specifically, especially those over 40, those who want to travel but aren't ready quite to go by themselves. I have not gotten around to putting up the testimonials about my trip because I've been so busy. And I read all the testimonials from the trips. I've already done 1, 2, 3, 4 trips this year. I did Zanzibar, Jamaica, just did Turkey, and now I'm getting ready to do Tobago. So that's 4. And the testimonials have been beautiful. Some of them brought tears to my eyes because it made me really happy to know that people had such a good time on the trips. And I will start to share some of those on social media. I've just been so super busy, and I am a one-woman band. And as you know, I have my travel business, and I also have an HR consulting business. So I'm very busy all the time. So I haven't gotten around to putting that stuff up, but I will. But I've really been enjoying doing these trips and meeting all these different women and meeting some of you who follow me on social media who've come on the trips. I really appreciate it very much. I appreciate if you guys will hit the subscribe buttons as you sign off. If you're not subscribed, it really is great. And hit the like button. That's also super, super helpful. If you will hit your like button for this video, that helps me a lot as well. So thank you for sitting here and listening to me talk for the last 2 hours about my trip to Turkey. I have enjoyed talking about it, as I'm sure you can tell. I really appreciate your support. I appreciate you guys being here. Share my videos with others if you think they might be interested. I will try to go live. I'll probably go live more over the summer because I won't be traveling as much. So I will have time to do more lives because there are lots of topics I want to actually talk about. I just haven't had the time because I've been traveling like crazy. And it's just really difficult. I know some people go live traveling and doing other things. I just can't. Because I'm doing so many things when I'm traveling. And I really like, if I'm doing a group trip, I really want to focus on my guests and making sure that they have a good time. So I really don't have the capacity to go live when I'm traveling, especially when I'm on a group situation. So when I get back from my meetup in Tobago, and I'm more settled. And then I'm doing a yacht trip, y'all. That's a whole other situation. I'm gonna tell y'all about that later. So I'm doing a yacht week thing after Tobago. So once I get back home, I will be doing more lives because I'll be talking to y'all about what happened in Tobago. I'll tell y'all about the yacht thing because that's completely. I'm going completely out of my comfort zone doing this yacht thing, and I'll explain more about why that is when I tell you all more about that. So thanks for hanging with me. I'm going to end this live stream. Thanks for being here. If you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. If you hadn't hit the like button, please hit the like button. And I will see you guys in the next video or in my next live or both. Have a good night or a good day or from wherever you are. And I'll see you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.